Hello, viewers. Welcome again to Manchester Prayer Line. I hope that the video talk have been helpful, and we trust that they are meeting your need. We want you to keep watching, keep sharing, and we know that there's something good in what we are posting here, and we trust that is helpful unto you. Thank you very much. Once again, we welcome you, and today we'll be talking about what if I don't believe in God? What if I don't believe in God? Well, um, in the community, at work, in many places, we must have come across people that have their doubt about God, and they need understanding, they need help in one way or the other, or even maybe my viewer themselves do not have not comprehended the issue of faith in God. I think this video is going to be helpful. So let's share, let's listen, and I pray that it will be very helpful and useful. So, what if I don't believe in God? What if I don't believe in God? Most times, when people say they don't believe in God, the argument that follows actually talk about faith, and it doesn't actually talk about faith, talk about knowledge. People say, oh, I don't believe in God, or I believe there's no God, but what is going to follow as an argument is not actually going to talk about faith. It's going to talk about knowledge. And there is a large difference between faith and knowledge, because we know that faith is in the realm of the spirit, while knowledge is in the realm of the soul. So, and they're just miles apart. They're miles apart. So, I remember one philosopher called René Descartes. Some of us must have heard about a philosopher called René Descartes. He asked people to doubt everything, including he himself. He said everything is doubtable. You should doubt everything. You should not believe everything. And he even said he should doubt himself, that maybe it doesn't exist. Maybe it's just an illusion. But even when he has said it, he still cautioned that he himself existed because he thinks. He said, cogito ergo sum, that he existed because he think. I exist because I think. Cogito ergo sum is one of the Latin phrases we must have come across. It means that I exist because I think. This is the man that said we should doubt him. We should doubt everything, doubt existence of God, existence of man, existence of everything, and see maybe everything is an illusion. But he say he himself existed because he think. Cogito ergo sum. I exist because I think. In other words, even though he asked one to doubt everything, he thought his existence should not be doubted just because he could think. Doubt itself, you see, is a question of like asking for clarification or looking for evidence. So if I doubt something, for example, what I have done is a reversal belief, kind of reverse belief. I believe in reverse because I could not access the evidence of what I'm asking for. This does not prove that the object does not exist. It just says I don't have access to the evidence, or I don't know it. That's what it means to doubt something. There are two pertinent questions that play around people who say they are atheists, or that they don't believe God, or they believe there's no God. And then one is it that they believe that there is no God, or that they don't believe that there is God? There are two things. Do they believe there's no God, or do they not believe there is God? Have you encountered anyone in that circle? Do they believe that there is no God, or do they not believe that there is God? It boils down to whether they believe or whether they don't believe. And of course, what they say will be a direct result or what they know, or what they don't know? Do we have any reason to believe that they themselves exist? For example, one of my philosopher teacher one day, and I stood up in the class because he wants us to doubt everything. I said, well, I think I should doubt you yourself that you existed. And it was like, it did not look too funny. Good advice that runs through like out so clearly is to follow the argument wherever it leads. That's the good advice. Follow the argument wherever it leads. Why do people even argue about God? Why do they ask whether there is God, whether there's no God? I think people are subject to the dictates of their five senses. The sense of sight, smell, touch, hear, and taste. Most humans, most of them find it difficult to conceive anything outside the five senses. I need to ask whether you are one of them. Are you in that category of people that are limited by their five senses? There are those who, though limited by their five senses, they are willing to follow the argument wherever it leads. Are you willing to follow the argument wherever it leads? That would be good if you can follow the argument. I need to mention 3 elementary arguments for the existence of God. And I think this will be helpful. And as I said, these are elementary arguments. If you are open to high arguments, I need you to feel free to contact us on Manchester Prayer Line 2019@gmail.com. We will do our best to respond and give more clarification whatever I needed. So, the 3 arguments are teleological arguments, ontological argument, and cosmological argument for the existence of God. These are elementary basic arguments for the existence of God. Well, they look like big words. Teleological, ontological, and cosmological. Philosophers, and including Christian philosophers, they routinely use all these jaw-breaking words to explain simple truths. Not because they want to confuse us, but it's because these words are from Latin, Greek, they are transliterated from other languages. So when we talk about teleological argument, teleos is talking about argument from design. Argument from design. This asserts that the complex but orderly nature of the universe and the living things, including human beings, this suggests that there must be an intelligent creator, an intelligent designer of the universe. It's not just due to random chance. There's somebody intelligent that designed everything. And when you look at the orderly manner things are, you will believe and you won't have any doubt that somebody designed it. If you see a wristwatch working, keeping the time, you won't tell me that wristwatch happened by chance. Somebody designed that wristwatch. So that's teleological argument. And God is that designer of the universe, the designer of the complex nature of human beings. That is God. The next one is cosmological. Cosmological, like the way you are saying cosmetics. The cosmological arguments come from the cause, something that happened. That's something that caused something. That is, nothing could happen on its own, except somebody or someone or something caused it to happen. This argument is saying that the first cause that made it to happen, the unmoved mover or the necessary cause is that God. God is the reason for everything. God is the beginning of everything. God is the cause of everything. God is the mover of everything. Is the prime mover. That's argument from cosmological argument. The third one is ontological argument. Ontological argument is argument from being. Argument from being. Just as there are human beings, there are animal beings, there must be spirit beings as well. Spirit beings or spiritual beings. Even though we don't have the full understanding. But we know there are animal beings. We know there are human beings. There must be spirit beings as well. The most perfect or greatest being is assigned to God, the supreme being, the most perfect being. So, in summary, teleological argument is argument from design. Cosmological argument is argument from a cause. And ontological argument is argument from being. I hope you can get it. Teleological, teleos, from design. Cosmological argument from a cause. And ontological argument from being. Human being, animal being, spirit being. During a junior school literary and debating about when young people are trying to show their ability, their oratory, there was a young orator, a debater who presented a very logical argument, after which he said, with all of these points of mine, I hope I've confused you that in my position is the right one. I think the word he wanted to use is convince. The word he wanted to use is convince, not confuse. In other words, these are not arguments to confuse us. They are arguments to convince us, to point our heart in the right direction. Despite all the argument and counter-argument about the existence of God anyway, the Bible never proved the existence of God. This is wonderful, as I think. It just assumed that that is the most basic knowledge and truth that anybody must know. In fact, the Bible says in many places, say anybody that says there's no God is a fool. He said the fool has said in his heart. In fact, it's not even say that he has said it out. The fool has said in his heart that there is no God. He said it point blank. Psalm 104, Psalm 10 verse 4, Psalm 14 verse 1, Psalm 53 verse 1. And he run throughout the Bible. So, my dear viewers, with all these points of mine, I leave you to do more research. You can also send your questions, your comments, prayer requests to Manchester Prayer Line 2019 at gmail.com. Remember also to subscribe to this channel and share for other people to benefit. You are welcome to be our guest. Get in touch. Thank you very much. God bless. Bye.